Now, the reason why it was better than in Brisbane is because this study was done over 2 years. More time for the inflammation in people's lungs to recover, or more importantly, for their immune system to get stronger and stronger. As a result, a number of good things happened, not all the ones that we hoped for, I suppose, but some of the good things that happened was that Jill was nominated and won an award. She was nominated for the Pride of Britain Carer of the Year Award, and another award called the Great Scott Award, which she subsequently won. And here she was receiving her award at a large ceremony, a bit like our Australia Day honours type thing. And lots of other things have happened since, but this is just a little indication, otherwise we'll be here all night, a little indication of some of the struggle for recognition that we've had. Just a little mention about Paul O'Connell before I go on. He's one of the first people to be trained by Sasha the Russian in Australia back in the mid-90s. He suffered from asthma and sleep problems for over 30 years. And in his late mid-30s, he happened to be in Adelaide on holiday and happened to be in a motel. As you do, you just turn on the telly, and here was one of these current affair programs. So he wrote down the name, and when Sasha the Russian came down to Melbourne, where he lived, he did the course with a large group of people. And he was amazed at his transformation in such a short space of time after suffering all these years. And he followed up the other people in the course as well. And then he went back 2 years and followed up other people, and also found that all had sustained improvement. So Paul and a group of others decided, rather than try and change the world, which we can't, he and a group of others formed the BIBH, the Buteyko Institute of Breathing and Health, which is the professional body that controls us, the practitioners. And they self-funded a number of other clinical trials with the same terrific results. But of course what we need is not only a few clinical trials, we need truckloads of money to publish this to every doctor's clinic, to every to every hospital, to every clinic, to every school, to every community centre, so that people learn more about it. And what you'll find if you speak to your doctors, the doctors will say, oh yeah, I've heard about it. If you happen to have a sleep doctor, they'll say, oh, I heard about it, I think it works well for asthma. If you happen to have an asthma doctor, say, oh, I heard about it, I think it works well for sleep, you know. So it's going to take a while. Let me tell you a little bit about my own experience, how I got involved. I suffered, as I said, as a child with asthma. Asthma wasn't that bad, it was mainly this chronic sinusitis I had. Now, as a kid, I'm at an age before these Ventolin puffers were out. So I used to take a pill to help my asthma. Didn't know what it was, a little pink tablet. I used to take it, it used to make my heart race. Okay? It was very important for understanding where we're going here. So I used to help my asthma. Now, cats and dust was always a bit of a problem for me. And I used to get a lot of colds. No, I didn't get a lot of colds, but what I did get a lot of was just about every second cold I got, I couldn't shake off. It would develop into a more serious condition called a chest infection or bronchitis. This is where you try and shake off a cold and you end up, you're just all shivery and weak. You go to the doctor asks you some nasty things about what you're coughing up and says, well, look, you know, you need antibiotics and take time off work and study. It used to happen to me like clockwork just about every 18 months, despite being relatively, what I thought, relatively fit. So anyway, it all started to change for me when I was 16. I was going through my last 2 years of school at boarding school. I was at Assumption College, Kilmore, up the road. Now, have any of you got any relatives in Kilmore? Good, it's a cold, miserable place. You know. Especially in the 1960s, it was a cold, miserable place. Now, they used to make us play sport every night out on the fields, rain, hail or shine. And one night I was out there playing hockey, chasing that hockey ball, and I was sickening for bronchitis. So I wasn't too swift. And I was looking for that hard white ball, and I looked up and finally I found it. Bang! It hit me right between the eyes, smashed my nose, responsible for that proud lump just there. And I was whisked off to the Kilmore Hospital where they gave me painful penicillin injections, you know where, for the bronchitis. And the surgeon set the nose. Now the surgeon that set the nose, he said, look, you've got all this congestion, all this blood. Did you know that you can have a nose operation? Clean out your nasal passages so that you can breathe. So next year in Preston at Panch Hospital, I had a nose operation, age of 17. I don't know whether you're familiar with this, it's a very invasive operation. Anyone here ever had a nose operation? Sister had. Okay, it's about right. Usually about 1/3 to 1/6 people who come. Okay, this is quite an invasive thing. They give you drugs to make even my big nose even bigger. They go and drill out all the passages, okay, and they stuff it full of about 1 metre of gauze up either side. And then, you know, when it heals, they give you morphine and they take it all out. Incidentally, your mother, I was 16, your mother comes to visit you and takes one look at you and starts crying. Thank you very much, Mum. Anyway, they give you morphine and they take it all out, all heals up, and you're supposed to be able to breathe, which I could for 5 days. And then ka-chunk, it all came back again. So I went to uni, became a high school teacher, and I worked at Flemington High School, right next to the racecourse, for 10 years, 1975, 1985. And by now I'm in my 20s. I wasn't getting much asthma because I wasn't running around much. But by now I had myself a Ventolin puffer, and it was fantastic. If I couldn't breathe, I'd just have a squirt of this and instantly my air tubes would open up. But pretty soon I found I needed 2 puffs and 3 puffs and 4 puffs and more and more. And once I got caught without my medication, got very anxious, very stressed, very upset, and had a massive attack. Ended up in St Vincent's Hospital, where they gave me strong injections, which made my heart race, but probably saved my life. Now, during my 20s, I started to get these sleep problems. Now, it wasn't that I couldn't go to sleep. I slept okay, but I was falling asleep during the day. I'd have a meeting at the school in the afternoon at 2:30, bang, I'd be out. At night, I'd go home and have a meal, falling asleep, and I was only in my 20s. Now, back in those days, we're talking the mid-70s and late 70s, nobody talked about sleep apnea very much. I was told I snored, but everyone snored. We used to laugh about snoring. Remember when we used to laugh about snoring? We don't laugh about snoring so much anymore, do we? So everyone put down my condition, my problem, to anxiety and stress. Believe it or not, it was quite stressful working at Flemington High in those days. We had the first lot of, remember what we used to call the boat people coming from Southeast Asia, and we had quite a melting pot down there, and I had a lot of responsibility. Look, many of my students, I love them very much. One of them's my accountant today. So it was quite stressful. After 10 years, I left teaching, got a job in IT. I put on a suit, went into town. By now, I had a young family growing up, and I was renovating my house in Essendon, and we noticed that my son, Thomas, each year he would sneeze more and more, uncontrollably. He'd come outside, I was planting my native plants, as we always used to do then, and he would just had a look at a plant and he'd start sneezing. We'd give him drugs for it, you know, pills, but you don't like your kids taking tablets. But what can you do? Worse still, his younger sister, Amy, had seemingly inherited my asthma. And unlike Thomas, she liked to play sport. And every time she ran around, of course, she got an asthma attack. And it was very upsetting. She had all the drugs, she had the Ventolins and the Becloforts and all those sorts of things. You don't like your kids taking drugs, but what can you do? I used to get phone calls constantly from the school. Amy's had another asthma attack. Come and get her. And I'd come up to the school. She'd be upset. She couldn't join in. They'd be nuking her with drugs, and her heart would be racing. And it was very, very frustrating. And it used to really annoy me. I know that doesn't sound rational, but I felt very frustrated. Here was my kid having this thing, and there was nothing I could do but give him more drugs. And it used to really get to me. It was bad enough being sick myself. But when my kid was sick like this, it really used to eat at me. So I was determined to find out all I could about it. So the next thing I tried was the allergy immunity skin test. I don't know whether you're familiar with this one. This is where you go along to a so-called allergy specialist who pricks your skin with a whole lot of different chemicals. A bit of cat, bit of dog, bit of plant, bit of pollen, you know, a bit of food, all these different things. And if the little prick goes red, they say, aha, you must be allergic to that particular chemical. Whereby they come up with the idea of giving you a course of injections in this poison. The idea being your immune system will get used to it and you won't react. It's actually a very dangerous practice if you think about it. Here's something your body doesn't like and they give you heaps of it. It's not done in most countries around the world. It was cut out for a long time in Australia, but it's come back again. We get everything here in Australia. Okay? So I put my 11-year-old and myself through this course of injections over weeks and months, and we had no improvement whatsoever. So I went back to the specialist, what's the story? They said, oh, sometimes it doesn't work. Oh, great. So what do I do now? He prescribed yet another brand name of one of these inhaled corticosteroids. So by now, I'm going up the corporate ladder. They're letting me loose in front of customers. I'm talking to customers on the phone.
And I like that, I always do it with me.
Okay.